All right, this is just to finish up a few things on arithmetic operations lesson. First one here is a sample AP question, and we have to figure out what is printed by this statement. And so one thing we have to know here is that if whatever is inside of here is true, the first statement will run. If it's not true, then the second statement will run. That's the else part. So it's kind of a branch in the code, and either one of these two lines is going to execute depending on the value of x and y and whether or not this is true. All right, so what this is saying is, if x is less than 10 and that little ampersand thing, which Mr. Westpadal can never make, that little symbol, that actually stands for and in Java. So if x is less than 10 and y is less than 0, then we're going to do the first thing, otherwise the second. Pause the video and see if you can figure out what is actually printed based on these values for x and y. All right, so let's see. So x is 7 and y is 3. So both of these have to be true in order for the first part to run. So x is less than 7, but y is not less than 0. Okay, so that means the first part's not going to run, and it's just going to run this line of code here. So it's going to print out x divided by y. So it's going to print out 7 divided by 3. And remember, it truncates. So 7 divided by 3 is 2.3 repeating. Sorry, I'm having trouble writing that there, but it's just going to truncate that part, and it's going to print 2. All right, so what they're trying to get you here is to forget this. A lot of people will enter B here, but if it's integers, it's going to truncate and give you 2. All right. Next part then is I want to cover real quick the idea of what's called casting, and this you'll do sometimes in your code. It doesn't happen a ton, but what it does is it turns one variable type into a second type. So if we have a double GPA that has a value of 3.75, and then we want to turn that into an int, we can make another int variable called GPA int, and then put the type of variable we want to turn it into in brackets like this, and then the thing we're converting. So this will take the 3.75, turn it into an int, and store it in there here. Okay, so hopefully this, we realize this will be a 3 by the end of it. Okay, and we can't just cast like indiscriminately. So, in this case, the GPA is a double, but we can't cast it into a Boolean. Boolean is true or false. And so, like, I'm pretty sure this would give some sort of error in Eclipse where you can't turn a double into a Boolean is what it would say, or something like that. Remember, Boolean is just a true-false value. If that hasn't come up, I think that's come up in class already, so that's just a true-false value. Okay, so that's called casting, and I just want to briefly mention it here. It might come up time to time when you're writing programs, so it's just to turn one into the other. And so obviously the most common one you'd use are double ints. You could turn one into the other, or vice versa, right, by casting like this. Okay, so the final thing I want to have you close class with here is see if you can write a program that averages 3 test scores. Okay, so you could just create another little .java file in Eclipse by doing File, New Class. Okay, and then type out the code. If you feel like you got it, go ahead and pause the video and try it now. If you want one quick hint, the way to start would be to make the test scores. So like double score 1 equals 83.5. Okay, and these should probably be doubles because you can have decimals, and certainly the average could be a decimal when you add them up and divide by 3. So see if you can finish the rest of the code, pause the video, and then I'll go through the answer. Okay, so we're going to make 2 more doubles here. So double score 2 equals 92.5. Let's say we did good on that one, and then we're getting smarter because Mr. Westphal is our teacher, and we're doing great. So we have 99.5 on the next test. Okay, and then to do the average, I'm going to make another double called average, and then I'm going to do all the calculations here. So I'm going to add the scores together, and I want to make sure that they're added first. So I'm going to put parentheses, just like you would in math class. Okay, and then I'm going to divide it by 3 total scores. So I would use 3.0 again to make sure I'm using doubles, not ints. Okay, and then I'm going to print out the average is plus the average variable. Okay, and so that should give us an average somewhere, I would guess, in the mid 90s. I guess I was wrong. That 83 is dragging us down a little bit. Okay, and so what's cool about this is then you can change it, right? If we say, okay, Mr. Westpatal, you retake this test and now you get 88.5, now we can say, okay, how are we doing now? Run it again, and now we got obviously a different average. Okay, and there are many ways to do this, right? I mean, in theory, you don't need to make all these scores. You could put the numbers in right here and do it all in one line. You could honestly put all these calculations right here instead of making an average variable. There's many ways to do it, but that's going to be true throughout this course, is that there's lots of different ways to complete a programming task. So that's it for our lesson on arithmetic operations. You can start to build more programs with this. Anything that's sort of a formula or calculation, you can start to do those after this lesson. All right, that is all. Thank you for watching.